Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Ben's Blades. Today we're going to tear apart this knife right here. This is the Benchmade Knives 698 Foray. This has been discontinued since 2019, and this particular knife has been in my collection for at least 8 years. It actually predates me having a knife collection. This was from back when I only had 3 or 4 knives to my name, and one of them was in a backpack, one of them was in my car, one was in the house, one was on my person at all times. You get the idea. So this knife, I don't believe has ever been, I don't think I've taken, in fact I know, I have not taken this knife apart since I've owned it. And so it is way overdue for some disassembly and maintenance, and just, let's tear it apart and take a look at it, see what's up in there. The knife is really interesting in relation to other Benchmade knives. It's got full steel liners, which is already kind of really cool, if you ask me. It's a really thick knife. Holy shit. This is thicker even than the Benchmade 940 Osborne. So, it's really crazy stuff how thick this blade stock is, which means that the standoffs and the pivot and the lock bar are all proprietary parts just for this knife. So this was back when, I think this came out, when this initially was released, I believe it predates the bug out craze. I think this is back from when Benchmade was more willing to do more interesting designs and just take some risks. Now everything's just a bug out variant. So, it's either, you got different types of Benchmade bug outs, or you've got all different knives from different manufacturers that are all trying to do the same thing as the bug out, and nobody's doing anything interesting anymore. That's just my thoughts about it. So let's go ahead and take it apart then. So I need a T10, I'm almost certain, and then I need a T6. Let's do this bit driver today. So let's go ahead. I'm probably going to need the Mac Tools mini ratchet. Actually, no. The pivot was fairly loose. And there you have it. It's kind of I think it's a really cool looking pivot, personally. The kind of machining work they did with that is really kind of cool looking. Okay. Now, we need to take the pocket clip off, and then this screw, because I think it's going to reveal liners that have more screws in them to hold the standoffs in. I would be really surprised if Benchmade just kind of soldered the standoffs into place. That would be kind of crazy. So I'm thinking there's subscrews in here. Okay, and then we got this one. Try to carefully get in there. That one almost needed the mini ratchet, but I got it broke loose. These? Yeah. So the forward screw is longer than the rear screw, so I need to keep that in mind. And yes, we have a bunch of subscrews. So this is going to be a little more complicated than a normal Benchmade. So I'm going to stick this over here, put the one screw here and the one screw there so that I don't forget where things need to go. This is a really interesting knife. It's something else how that's made. Okay. So I kind of figured it would be like this. But seeing it is a different situation. These inside screws have a lot of Loctite dust. So that's something. Okay, now this screw for the blade stop pin. I'm going to put that up here. We're going to kind of treat the knife like it's going to be facing this way, just to keep track of parts. Take the Omega spring off, kind of let that just kind of chill there. Now we got to take the other side off. You know, I've been paying attention to knives long enough to remember when Benchmade actually had a lot of stuff going on. Now it's mostly, you know, with some exceptions that I'm not thinking of, it's mostly the two bug outs and the Osborne and the Barrage and the Griptilian. Yes, obviously there's more, but, you know, for the most part, those are their iconic models, and I really do kind of miss stuff like this. I actually should have put this in the other way, because it's got a bigger pivot. Wow. Ooh. The pivot is so big that the reassembly tool is too small for it, so getting it back together is going to be fun. That was sarcasm if you were not understanding that. It's going to really suck getting this thing back together, because crossbar lock knives have pressure points where everything is kind of trying to fly apart on you, and that's what this is for, is to keep everything in place. So we'll see. Okay, let's take the inside screws out of this side. For a second I thought we were free spinning, but no, we're good to go. There's just a lot of Loctite on here. Ooh. Ooh. That one almost needed the ratchet. Yeah, that one needs the ratchet. Okay. Mac Tools mini ratchet. There we go. Just needed the mini ratchet for a second because of all the Loctite that's up on these. Ooh, there was a lot in that one. So now I have an interesting dilemma. It looks like the standoffs are kind of compression fit into the scale. Because, I mean, look at this thing. It's not coming apart. So, certainly not without a little bit of fuss. I'm actually going to set you over here so that you are not going to get damaged by anything. Ooh, yeah, I don't know if I'm getting that apart without... I wonder... So I have this pry tool right here. This is in my knife disassembly toolbox that's off camera. This is actually for windshield glass, but I have used it to carefully pry apart stuck knives before. So we're going to see, there's a washer by the way, take a look at those. We're going to see if we can carefully pry this thing loose. Ooh, there we go. It just needed a little bit of motivation. Okay. I suppose let's get stuff together and clean it up. We got the Slip 2000 725. Then I got a fresh shop rag here. And let's see if I can take these pins out. Yep. Standoffs will come out. They're compression fit in, but it looks like they will come out without too much trouble. Getting them in is going to be fun. Yay for that. We do have surface rust. Not sure if you can see that. I was concerned that I might have to whip out the flits for this, and yeah, it's looking like I'm kind of going to have to. Oh, come on. There we go. Yeah, that one's got a little bit of surface rust too, so we'll take the 725 to it, and then we are going to do flits, which is this stuff right here. So it's going to be a long form video for this one, so buckle your seatbelt. Hold on to your blades. Haven't said that in a while. So for those who don't know what this is, most of you should, but for those who don't, flits is a micro abrasive. And so it's basically gonna take off a microscopic part of the surface of what you're scraping it against. It's almost like 10 million grit sandpaper, basically. It's liquefied sandpaper. I'm actually going to do this to that whole side just to kind of keep everything consistent. And what you'll notice with this stuff is as it's doing its job, it'll start to turn gray. So this is really good for taking surface rust off of steel. It might not have been surface rust, but I figure if it was corrosion transfer from the PB washers, I would think that it would have came off easier with the Slip 2000 725, and so that's why it's got me thinking that it's actually surface rust. But then, interestingly, I'm taking the flits to this, and it's coming off a little more easily than it maybe should. So, I don't know. It's definitely not hurting anything. Definitely pissed a bunch of that out. I'm going to have to get a new shop rag. Okay. Let's just put you off camera for a second in case I need you again. All right. Now those markings are all gone, so I don't know. Could have been surface rust, could have been just corrosion from the PB washers, phosphor bronze washers that left a little bit of residue on the steel. The actual blade, I know that has some rust on it, so either scenario is not implausible. Okay. Let's get the Omega springs off. Take this into the 725. I keep doing it off camera because I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking at what I'm doing. So it kind of, sometimes you'll catch me doing stuff not where it should be. These I'm just going to kind of dab them with the 725. I don't think they need a whole lot of cleanup. They weren't particularly dirty to begin with. Same thing for the pivot. We do have a captive pivot, which is cool. It's just much bigger than most other pivots from Benchmade. It's interesting that they made it so much bigger. That's very interesting. Okay. Now, I need to take the thumb studs off of this because I want to see how bad the rust spot is on the blade. Actually, no, I was going to put some tape on this, but I'll just put it against the rubber surface of the soldering mat. It'll be fine. Oh yeah, we got a little bit of surface rust right next to the Benchmade logo. Okay, let's take a closer look. See that? Got some corrosion going on both sides. This is certified surface rust. So, you know, I don't care what knife steel you have. Stainless steel can rust. It 100% can rust. The standoffs, it doesn't look like it's coming from the standoffs. So it's not the standoffs being it's not the thumb studs being a lower grade stainless steel and then depositing corrosion onto the 20 CV blade. No, the 20 CV blade is literally rusting. So that's a real thing. What do we do now? I am going to cut the video for just a second because I have to change camera batteries, and then we will be right back. Alright, we're going to approach this from a different angle. I'm going to take this tape and wrap it around the blade to keep stuff from dinging up against it. That's fine. That is fine. And then I'm going to take the extra and place it over the laser etching on the logo and on the other side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take flits to these spots right here where we have that just tiny amount of surface rust. And I'm actually going to try to do that with a Q-tip. Just stick it right in the... Good God, this stuff got all over. Okay, well, that's awesome. So while I was changing camera batteries, and I was standing around off camera, just standing around, you know, finger pop my asshole, I kind of decided that maybe I should come at this with a Q-tip instead of doing it the other way, because it might be less messy. So what I'm going to do is just rub it against there like that, and then just kind of stir it around like so. So I'll try to get a little bit closer for those of you who are seriously going to do something like this. You take one side of the Q-tip, you slather it on there, and then with the other side, you just kind of rub it around. And then I'm going to take the shop rag and wipe off the excess. And that surface rust or surface corrosion, whatever it was, is now completely gone. The other side of this coin that you need to be aware of is the flits could slightly brighten the finish of where you apply it. And so if this knife were a collector piece that I was going to sell eventually, which I'm not, then I might try to find a different way to do this, because there is the risk that it could over polish the part of the knife that you apply it to, and then you have this noticeably different shine to just that one spot, if that makes any sense. Right now it's looking like I applied it conservatively enough that it doesn't look all that different. So it looks like, at least at the moment, that was a smashing success. Good God, I'm making a mess today. Shop rag after shop rag. And flits and all sorts of other gunk. Okay. I think I'm just going to leave this on here for right now, because then I can freaking bounce it around and do whatever I want to do, and it's going to be fine. Alright. Now, I'm trying to remember what side the pivot goes in. The pivot goes on the show side. Actually, no, I just checked my phone. The screw down side of the pivot goes on the pocket clip side. So we need to put it together from that angle. Okay, let's just start with this. We are going to take the ALG Go Juice, which is in this bottle right here. We're going to apply just a tiny bit of lubrication where the washes are going to go. And then the blade needs to go... Actually, I think I'm getting ahead of myself, because I have to put the sub screws in where these standoffs are going to be. So yeah, I'm doing this a little bit ahead of myself. Come on. Sitting here watching me trying to fingernail a freaking knife, the liners. Okay. These standoffs go in tight, but they're not that tight. You're not going to need like a micro hammer or some kind of like tool to kind of carefully pound them in place. It doesn't appear that they need that kind of motivation to get back in there. Okay. Now, the blade stop pin goes right here. And the blade stop pin is a subscrew. I had to kind of look around at the knife scales to remind myself exactly what's going on. I'm just going to take this off. I'll reapply the Go Juice to it here in a second. Okay. Now this one, just go down the knife one by one and lock everything into place. Because it's got full liners and it effectively has these subscrews, you shouldn't need to screw around with the G10 scales in order to get the knife mostly assembled. If you want the show side of the pivot to go on, well, obviously you're going to need G10 on the other standoff. But you don't need it on this side. So I'm kind of thinking about this as I go. Thinking about the best way to do this. It's a tight one. Okay. Now, what I think I'll do is take this, even though it's functionally too loose, it will kind of help keep things in place. Go back to the Go Juice. Whatever is excess from it being too much will just, it'll just be leftovers that'll fall off of the knife as you use it anyway. I'm noticing I have fewer screws than I should. Turns out I actually wasn't missing a screw. The other G10 scale doesn't have a cutout for the blade stop pin screw like this one does. What the hell, are you serious? Benchmade was on drugs when they put this thing together for the first time. That's weirdness. That's just goofy, and I cannot wrap my tiny little brain around that. That's something different. Okay. Well, let's get with the program after I spent 20 minutes off camera trying to find a screw that wasn't fucking there. Okay. What that tells you is that I really should just pay attention to what I'm doing. So, okay. Now, we are ready to put this on. It's just a matter of stacking everything up. I really don't like the fact that I can't get everything to really be tightly fitted into place because the disassembly tool doesn't work for a pivot this big. So I'm going to have to kind of rely on the other steel liner kind of compression fitting everything into place on its own. So I'm going to try to just hand press everything into position and we'll see how that goes. Okay. Looked like it was easier than I thought it was going to be. Maybe the fact that it's too loose is actually doing me a favor. I have no idea. Okay. Now, the screw side of the pivot has to go from the pocket clip side. And so that means that this side has to go on first, and the captive side of the pivot has to go on from this angle. So, I can't believe I spent 20 fucking minutes looking for a damn screw that they didn't even drill a hole for it. Like, what the hell? Like, were you guys drinking when you designed this knife? This knife got designed at a frat party. I am convinced that that is exactly what happened. I'm going to go with that. The Benchmade 698 frat party. No, that's too on the nose. Let's call it the Foray. It's like, okay. 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 Now, I just want to make sure I'm not missing parts. Oh, yes. I have to actually put the lock bar in. So, I'm going to hold it in place like this and just drop it in there. And then the Omega spring has to go in like this. Oh my god, frame lock knives are so much easier to mess with than crossbar lock knives. This has just got me curious, but I would be lying if I told you that I was having a whole lot of fun right now. These are a pain in the ass. So, take these apart at your own risk. Not just this particular knife, but crossbar lock knives in general. Okay. So now I think we have a knife that's not going to come flying apart on us. Now I got to get the pivot in. Because I feel like that's going to be easier than screwing the scale down first. Oh, this is where we're going to have issues. God damn it. Because the reassembly tool is too small, even on the bigger spot for it. Because this end is thinner than this end, but even this end is not thick enough. Okay. It's just a matter of getting the captive side of the pivot facing the right direction. Oh, I think I almost got it. Back the lock bar down. No, it's trying to get in there. Let's back it out again. I think I actually am going to screw the scale down. Just so that it doesn't come trying to fall off on me. And hopefully having it kind of tightened down won't create fitment issues to where I can't get the pivot back in. It's just a matter of wiggling it through and having all the parts stay perfectly aligned, which without the right size tool, that's almost an impossibility. So I'm going to try to hold the disassembly tool towards the captive side where they're both in the flat spot. I don't know if you just saw that, but it pinged the disassembly tool right out of the knife. It tried to go in. It is just, yeah, the issue is the blade. The blade's really tight and it doesn't want to go through it. Because usually that's a good sign when it does that. It means that it went through the knife without... Ooh, there we go. See what I'm talking about? Fucking did it. Okay. That was a whole lot more difficult than I had hoped it would be. Alright, let's get this freaking pivot on before something crazy happens. Way too tight. Okay, now the screws have to go back on. Longer screw for the middle, and then shorter one for the back. I'm gonna really tighten that one down. About as reasonably tight as I can get it because the pocket clip is going to go over it. Ooh, wee. That was an exercise in stand on one foot and hold your nose. Those are snug. Let's take the tape off. All right. Now, I'm burning through shop rags today. I just don't want to get flits all over everywhere. We're going to do the LPS2 for the blade. Just to get this thing in picture perfect shape. The blade on this is really interesting. It's like a recurve swedge almost. Looks like something Andrew Demko would do. Actually, no, John would probably be more something that would come from him. Would be a blade like that. Okay. Because I think John is the one that likes to screw around with different blade shapes. Okay. Thumb studs back on. Looking around, we're not missing any parts. We don't have any parts left over. So there's another tight. And look at that. Boom, baby. Dead center. Sometimes I'm so good I fucking scare myself. Woo! Okay. And this thing is, well, not drop shut. I could probably get it that way. Let's see if I can get it that way. Actually, no blade play. See if I can get this to be drop shutty. Yeah, a little bit. Look at that. Gravity. Drop shut. Butter. The guys at work are going to give me shit about that. I know they are. Ew, though. We got blade play. So it's kind of there's a sweet spot where it's fidgetable, but it's not going to be drop shut if you want there to be zero blade play. A little more. I mean, you could fling it shut without any trouble at all, and we still have no blade play. So that kind of is the sweet spot. I don't think this is going to be a drop shutty knife. So it just is what it is. There it is, Benchmade Foray. Let's wipe it down. Let's just get a little bit of the LPS2 all over it and wipe it down and then show it to you. Okay. Boom. There you go. I shut the camera off prematurely. There's one more thing we got to do. I, especially in the last few months, have been using KPL Heavy for a lot of shark locks and crossbar locks. This stuff is really good for if you have metal on metal contact along the backside of the knife and along the sort of, I call it the lock ride as it goes around the blade. But the best way to do this is just stick a little bit of KPL Heavy right here, and this stuff won't creep as much as regular KPL, and it will make these metal on metal spots like crossbar locks and shark locks and things like that. It'll make it just the dead butteriest freaking smooth, oh my god, action. Oh boy, love this. Okay, so that's it. There it is, a fully reassembled Benchmade Foray. Took some rust off of it. It was not the easiest disassembly I've ever done, but hey, we got it done. And now this thing is absolutely good to go to stay in my collection and be used occasionally for years to come. Benchmade 698 4A. Questions, comments, put them in the comments section of the video. Otherwise, until next time, this has Ben from Ben's Blades telling you, carry a knife everywhere you legally can. I'll catch you later.